Wait a second. I recognize this funky decor. This isn't my funky decor. Oh shit. I remember now. Dietrich swooped me out of danger. He stood in the door to that bar like a goddamn action hero. Called my name. Man, I still shiver thinking about it, lowercase. The way he looked at me. No wonder I decided to go for another demonstration of what the D in Dietrich stands for. Uh-huh. He's so damn sexy when he cares. Focus, Dax. Remember the interrogation. Dietrich hasn't changed. He's not suddenly going to throw his Law and Order bootlicking into the wind just because I want him to. Maybe the literal bootlicking, but it's different. It's different context. But what if Dietrich wants to change? What if he finally sees the law and true justice aren't always the same thing? What if he'll listen this time? I want to give him a chance. If the police knows anything about mind-controlling bikers, Dietrich keeps it here. Why would he keep it here? So let's have a look around. And if it sounds like Dietrich genuinely wants to help, I'll hear him out. That's twice. Twice in a row, you've been at a place looking for intel. Dietrich's apartment. Zoom in on the bed specifically, which we shared. Uh-huh. Not so X after all, huh? Or not so cleanly. That's twice now that we've been in a specific location in the back room speaking about something secret-ish, and then stuff explodes in, and we get attacked by somebody, and then Dietrich storms in also and saves us from the attack essentially, or something along those lines. Because last time it was supposed to be the bikers. I guess it was bikers both times. It's just the first time it was confusing whether it was the bikers or the cops. What is this building? Is it a window to the exposed brick, or is it a picture of bricks? On both sides. Those bricks, then those polka dots. I mean, I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't compliment the orange and purple, given my persona's design, but... Uh-huh. He's got excellent grip strength. Okay. Grip strength training device. Hand lotion. There's a vent over here. An ID or card or something. Last night sure was something. Not sure what yet. Do you remember or not? Were you conscious? Did things happen? Oops, got carried away there. What am I looking at? Oh, there's claw marks on the pillow, I think is the takeaway. I can't totally tell what's going on here. There's like shadows and weird textures. It might be like a goofiness like that sidewalk where it might be freaking out a little bit. Like I'm trying to tell what this is. It's hard to tell what that shadow's supposed to represent exactly. This is obviously a big window frame. That part might be... I think something might be wrong with these bed sheets a little bit. They did confirm that that was a glitch would happen on the sidewalk earlier. Or it's the baked-in lighting has some iffiness going on to correct. There might be something going on with some of this stuff too. Even more weights. Do you really need two? How fucking huge is this guy? I only ever see people use these kettlebells with two hands. Sexy, but ominous. Ominous sexy. It's a strange. This is the glowing warmth lube. I have no idea what it is. The implication seems to be that there's a baked-in shadow of like a globe there, but only on that one. Maybe if I just sneak out, we don't have to acknowledge my lapse in judgment in grouping up again. What are these? It vaguely looks like maybe it's a coat hanger. I was like, it vaguely looks like light switches, those flat ones people have, but that'd be weird to have them stick out that much when you press them. But maybe, yeah, you tap the bottom and it sticks out, and then you hang your coat on it, and you can make as many as you want come out as you want, and that's like It's not really any more convenient. It just looks neat, maybe. It's also taller than me. This entire apartment is distinctly for somebody who is taller than me. Like, look at how tall this dresser is compared to me. Like, it's kind of embarrassing. I feel like I'm possum-sized in this macro Bara Wolf's apartment. Which, I mean, could get used to. He has a pizza table. You eat pizza on it, and also it's pizza-shaped. How do I get the giant wolf? Can't even see what's on the top shelf. Yes, I can. It's that one rock again. The one rock that's in every building. I'll find every instance of it. Fuzzy boys. It's not him, is it? No. I've seen, yeah. I've seen Bobby draw like a cop wolf that looked like that guy before. Huh, he still has the poster I got him for our anniversary? Oop, I fell. I am walking on these objects like a cat. Is that a light switch thing? You really get a sense that this is a giant person that lives here. There's even more workout stuff. No, it's not. That's all of his protein and wine. That's the vibe we got here. We got wine bottles and protein things. Well, it looks like it's supposed to be a closed fridge and they're sticking out the door. So... I got some patch notes to suggest on this environment. Because it looks like the contents of this wine. Well, he's still gay. Still got butt cakes. But Dietrich hates this brand. Did he buy this for me? Aww. Those are frosted O's. Like, which you can relate to that right now. That's how things are going for you right now. We just skipped that. Did we skip an entire date or did you sleep through it? Glug. Even the water tastes fancy. Is he? Oh, he's above the clouds. How tall is this building? I don't know if I need a living room that has a tripping hazard built into it. Recessed couches. Pizza table. Would you look at that? Dietrich is a subscriber to the Pavonis Gazette. No surprise there. What will the editorial team's constant police bootlicking? Let's see which article he was reading. Monumental statue reveal set to unite the city. Oh yeah, wasn't Snifty on duty for that? Uh-huh. That's exactly what's going on. These are like brand spanking new, but they're the same ones he's always had. How? He doesn't actually work out, he's just built like this. This is all to make the appearance of effort. It's the Rock again! But in reality, he, there's even more protein here. Or whey, or whatever. In reality, he's like Captain Hammer. I'm just naturally like this. Oh, what's this? A state-of-the-art home control system? Always wanted to play around with the newest version. Of course, Dietrich has his own homebrew software on it. The default was probably full of security flaws. Dax starts tinkering around with it. Okay, maybe 2 homebrew. This thing has only got one option. Turning off the water? I guess that could be a fun prank to play on Dietrich. Guaranteed to have him come down here sopping wet with just a towel on. Leave it alone for now. We're trying to snoop. I don't know if he's guaranteed to not have only have a towel on. You might catch him in the middle of lathering, and then he's like, how the fuck do I get all these suds off of me without water? Employee of the Month, City Protector Award, Block Chop Champion, 2183, 2182, 2180. Reading these in reverse chronological order. Whoops. Weird sci-fi gun, that's terrifying. Ah, this cabinet. Here's where Dietrich keeps all his past cases backed up. I guess we've got much the same thing back at the CIO, and yet his just looks fancy. His are sorted chronologically and alphabetically. He tried explaining it to me once, but my brain just blue screened. And when we did a day of sorting paperwork together back at the academy, that might have been our worst fight. Well, worse until... yeah. I'm just never gonna be tidy and neat and perfect like that. I got other stuff going for me. Don't go having a quarter-life crisis over a bunch of folders now, Dax. How do you sort chronologically and alphabetically? Do you have two separate files for everything so that you can search them by both in the two separate drawers? Okay, there's the statue that's hard baked into that other lighting thing elsewhere. Bunch of empty frames. I don't think that's supposed to be that way. Today's actions are tomorrow's results. The wingspan on that guy. Oop, you can see the curl of the poster. So it's only attached at the top. That is an ultra-wide monitor. Does it curve? I've never had it. The back of it looks like it, but the front doesn't. I've never had an ultra-wide monitor. It seems like a pain in the ass to deviate anywhere from the standard aspect ratio. It's like, oh yeah, there's totally benefits or something, but it's like, I feel like you're gonna have to constantly deal with calibrations and downsides and weird stuff fucking up, and I'm like, no. I want an easy life, especially with my recording and streaming and things. Time for Dax and Anaya, Master Hacker. Oh no, I almost forgot this is Dietrich we're talking about. All of his shit is basically Fort Knox. No need to get discouraged, might as well try. And a good master hacker starts with the last password they remember. Let's see. Tort Pavonis 2164. PC unlocks with a soft jingle, and Dax is greeted by a file directory search bar. Huh? Okay, honestly now, why did that old password still work? Unless... Did Dietrich keep it because we came up with it together? When we were binging that dumb show? It was pretty fun. Focus, Dax, let's try some simple search terms. Oh no, he has bad cybersecurity because he's romantic about the context of the password? That's a poor choice. Body shopping. What's this? Oh, Dietrich's list of approved body purchases for accounting. I remember this. Squad members are encouraged to experiment with bodies for mental and physical improvement. So there's Snifty's possum body, obviously. John tried an African penguin and a fennec fox. I can see a fox for her, honestly. Juiced was a macaque, an Irish draft horse. That sounds as if it was for a case. A squirrel, a panda. Man, maybe he doesn't want to settle. Didn't take him for that kind of guy, but hey, is Jean? Fuck, I forgot if what I landed on for the pronunciation. Jean. It is just Jean. Right, I was on. It's Jean in English and Jean in French, which is unhelpful. Although maybe it's even better to go. It sounds like it's that Jean's been a woman this whole time, which I don't think was clear anywhere yet. Whoops. So we're probably gonna go with Jean. Bikers. There's a biker crime timeline here. Ha! Crime line. Here's the earliest entry from a few years back. Person of interest. File created to track repeat offenses or individual code name road rash. Individual code named road rash. Identifying as female, age unknown, current body mod is that of a lizard. They were a lizard. Search for embody file in order to ascertain individual's legal name has been unsuccessful. An unauthorized purchase of embodies relevant data set revealed that her name has been scrubbed from their database. Road rash has been linked to the following misdemeanors. Disturbing rest periods with loud music. Organizing illegal desert motorbike races, creating further noise disturbance. Insulting officers of the law. Squatting on private property. Oh, this looks interesting. And there's more. A whole lot more. Let's see. Noise disturbances, squatting, rudeness, and illegal motorbike races is the most dangerous thing that's on the list, potentially, depending on where it was. There is a giant empty planet around them, so the races might be happening on places that nobody's on, which makes it only a risk to themselves. So overall, not a very impressive list of misdemeanors if you're going to act like these are the biggest problems in the world. May 30th. Individuals have formed a biker gang by the name of the Dune Busters. Their goal seems, and them being called the Dune Busters seems to imply that they race in the dunes. Their goal seems to be to spread an environmentalist message. November 11th, fire laid to industrial office block, Dune Busters likely suspects. December 1st, Baumek's board members' car chased through the city by Dune Busters, numerous instances of property damage to cars along the road. January 18th, Dune Busters shoot at interplanetary convoys using illegal weapons. Point of purchase has not been identified. February 12th, Dune Busters target desert convoy, kidnap 5 passengers for ransom. There's a lot of stuff like this. Okay, that escalated. And it only escalates. Pavonis cops. Oh, these are just case evaluations and performance reviews. Boring. Unless there's some juicy gossip in here. Q1 2148 performance review for Joost van Meppen and Jean Castellet. Jean. Performance strongly impacted by caffeine withdrawal and potential reliance on Martian homeopathy. Might not pass the next fitness test. Believes herself to be Joost's superior, which is also often her sole point of motivation. Actual performance makes future leadership position very questionable at best. Does, however, not let her emotions win out when dealing with criminals. Joost. Makes up for lack of intellectual capacity with physical fitness, well liked in the squad. Absolute lack of fear, very empathetic to whatever he perceives to be the problem, which, more than likely than not, isn't the actual problem. Generally, you tend to have 2 members in each squad who basically cancel each other out, and Jean and Joost are that. My cross to bear. There's a note here. Squad really needs someone who is as dedicated as Dax was. Dax cared. Probably too much, but this was more than a job to him. It's true, leaving did hurt, but I had to. After I saw how our squad captain beat up the suspect of my last case, the guy couldn't even stand up straight anymore. But when I went to report it, everyone told me not to rock the boat, told me to close ranks. Maybe I should have listened. No? Because what happened during the hearing. Dietrich, you were there. Why didn't you back me up when I asked you to give testimony? Why did you just make shit up about the suspect starting the fight? Did you want to put the guy behind bars so badly that you sold me out? Or did you just not care? How can I make amends? I have to show him how much good we can do together. No. Not unless you think you can clean up the entire force, which has 2 problems built into it inherently. One, the whole like bad apple thing, like immediately, like the phrase is the bad apple spoils the bunch, and like the inherent thing with police officers is that like there's inherently there's always more loyalty to the department itself and to your fellow police officers over the idea of justice or mercy or even just basic human rights. So a lot of fucked up stuff happens around the entire country and in really the world in these police departments. Really fucked up things happens in pursuit of getting convictions, in pursuit of just oftentimes just monetary income in many cases. Like when you get into the whole thing where there's places in the United States especially where it's legal to just like seize stuff based on any kind of pretense, and then you just keep that stuff, and then you can add it to the budget of the department, and you just seize money from people, and you don't have to actually like in the process fully charge them or ever convict them of a thing. You just get to just keep the money that you seized from their car and stuff like that. There's just an incredible mountain of stuff. Abuses towards suspects and even just people on the street without even charging them of things. The many people that die before they even reach police custody. And the entire system protects cops. The judges protect the cops, the fellow cops protect the cops. It's all like a really disgusting thing that none of that stuff should be on the table. None of that stuff should be even possible if these systems actually cared about the people they're supposedly protecting. But the idea that the police exist to protect people is itself kind of just propaganda. It's the narrative sold to us, like the American dream, or like the idea that the invisible hand of the market makes capitalism just work out for the better interest of all people via magic, like a fairy tale. A lot of the narrative about cops and what they're supposed to be doing in society is largely invented and doesn't reflect even the original purposes of cops. Like in the United States, the police department was essentially created to catch slaves that had run away. Like it was a slave institution. And in Mars Vice, if I remember correctly, it was explicitly created to protect the interests of the corporations that were colonizing this place, and that they tried to go without a police department in general. And that's usually what happens. It's generally speaking an institution that exists just to preserve the powers that be and enforce their stuff, like, which makes it, and it has the inherent issue where all laws of any kind are backed by violence. The police are a violent institution, and all crimes, even non-violent crimes, are eventually enforced by violence, because non-compliance is always enforced by violence. Like, so they are a violent institution that will use violence against non-violent offenders. And there's a lot of stuff where it's like extremely debatable whether or not things that are legal are even bad, or if they even are bad, whether or not it's just to punish them. Because things can be bad without it being a justifiable thing to arrest people for them, or do any of the things that we actually do, because we only have like a couple verbs total for like things we will do to convicts and people. And the question is whether or not any of those things are actually even applicable punishments or responses to the thing that might be bad, but maybe that's not a thing you should, but maybe it still doesn't deserve any kind of like responses like that. And there's a question of like, if you're trying to make society better, does imprisoning people even do that for most of the crimes involved, like the war on drugs in the United States and so on? Like, so much of this stuff, it's extremely debatable whether or not any of these things even help anything besides just emboldening and enriching the prison industrial complex, which itself is another thing where it's like there are elements of policing that have quotas. Like in Trump's America nowadays, with ICE, he fucking tried to set, and I've lost track of what happened here, because the nightmarish thing about Trump being president is that there's like 10 horrible headlines every day, and so even a month into the presidency, it's deeply exhausting, and you genuinely already feel like you can't keep up with what the fuck's happening. He tried to set a quota for ICE arrests per day. I think it was something like trying to arrest and kick out like 1,000 immigrants per day. And like, there's a deeply fucked up thing that happens whenever you take any kind of a policing institution and you tell them to meet a quota, because that you're telling them to find crime, not to respond to crime or like help people or anything that vaguely like that. You're telling them that their incentive is to find crime, which it means essentially their job to manifest crime, to almost like create it or so on, in the form of either entrapping people or lying, or in many cases, like with ICE here, just not exporting. Why am my brain's blanking? I'm thinking export and evict, and neither of those are the right word for what I'm trying to say right now. Like just capturing people and kicking them out who aren't even illegal and aren't even applicable to this stuff, because they're like, I don't know, brown people. It's like we live in a country where brown people regularly are. It's in their best interest to keep their like multiple forms of identification on them, and maybe even their passport on them, just at all times, because they're not safe in their own country, even if they're completely citizens here and were born here. Like, it's policing institutions are bad. Like, they're extremely bad. There's so much wrong with them, and I don't know. Someone gets mad at me every time I bring this stuff up, and they'll be mad at this game for this stuff. But it's like they're always really obviously and provably wrong, and they're the people who are most fervent defenders of cops are usually people that have police in their family, and they're like, but my dad's a good man, and they're like completely ignoring the entire thing I talked about, where I'm talking about the institution itself, and not just like the idea that an individual is evil. Like, Dietrich is probably cool, but also he closed ranks, which makes him a piece of shit. Like, he thinks he's trying to do good, and he thinks that he has to do it from within the system and so on. But he also closed ranks with his fellow cops when somebody beat someone until they couldn't walk anymore, and that is not just. And he closed ranks around that, and he sided against Dax, and that's why that they split up. And like, that makes him a piece of shit. That makes him somebody who's willing to do horrible things or allow horrible things because of his sense of justice, telling him that he can still make something good if he works within that system. And that's really bad. And I hate to break it to any people that have cops in their family, but they might have some really fucked up stories they're not sharing with you, because oh boy, there's just so much to get into there, and I'm not going to keep going. Honestly, it's just we're not off topic, we're completely on topic, but I'm not going to make this a fucking podcast right now. It's been very frustrating as a queer person having to deal with people in the comments section every time cops come up in like Disco Elysium or this and that, and you have to deal with people in the comments that just they ignore reality. And it's like, it's just deeply frustrating to have to deal with people that don't understand anything. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm guessing that you're probably in your 20s or 30s and you're probably a white, cis, straight male that's got a decent socioeconomic background, and so you have no interactions with the police, and you don't culturally have any reason to fear the police, and you don't have any kind of identity that is disproportionately policed by the police, or are any kind of person that has a history that, like, oh yeah, people like you were just illegal sometimes. Hooray. Because, yeah, the history of the police versus queer people in the United States and several other countries, deeply fucked up. And lo and behold, in case anyone has this spelled out for you, being gay or trans, even publicly, is not a crime. I'm sorry, it's not bad. It's not amoral. There's nothing wrong with people existing, but it is frequently a crime. That's what I meant to say, and that's inherently deeply fucked up. It's why it's so much easier for people in these spaces to very easily accept that what is legal and what is just are two completely different conversations, even though they're often conflated in the world. You know, it's why it's frustrating whenever someone sees something horrible happen to someone via the police, where they're like, well, shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done a crime. Shouldn't have done anything. Whatever the fuck you did to get you there, you're inherently in the wrong somehow because the police are after you. And it's like, no, that's not the reality I've seen. Not in general. Anyway, how can I make amends? I have to show him how good we can do together. How much good we can do together. No. This was like the police report on the incident at the docks. Breaking and entering, homicide, blah blah blah. Okay, none of this is new. Looks like they're missing a few dots. Anaya and I connected, but... Anaya and I... Anaya? Fuck. Anaya and I connected, but, what's here really bolsters our case. Anaya and I made a pretty good team, sometimes. For one day. Focus, Dax. Let's see what else they have on Crowbar. Purpose, a crow going by the codename Crowbar, member of the Dune Busters biker gang. Murder likely committed for reasons of environmental extremism. Dax keeps scanning the notes until he finds something new. Aha! This escalation is following a warning delivered to police previously. See file DB28C. Summary follows. Individual going by the codename Road Rash, leader of the Dune Busters, announced a dust up the likes of which you haven't seen. Analysis, high probability of a planned terrorist attack. You discarded the incident as a tag. Damn. Let's see. Dust of which likes you haven't seen. So yeah, Road Rash is planning stuff that Crowbar doesn't know about. They're planning a what? Terror attack. Oh, terror attack even has its own file. Looks like it's an actual physical letter. I guess environmental types go for that? It's made from cutouts, like those ransom notes you see in vintage crime shows. Not to downplay this, but that's such a cliche. To all members of Pavonis PD, listen up, you brainless puppets of corporate Mars. We've been nice long enough. Time to take the Dune Busters seriously. You protect those harming the planet, and then celebrate your failure as progress for humanity? We won't take this insult. Expect to dust up the likes of which you haven't seen. Either Mars will stay dead, or you will. All spreaders of corpo lies will die. The only order is no order. Stylistically, it's not great. A for effort, I'd say. So, like, the whole point of being a serial killer and cutting out the magazine letters is to be anonymous and weird and not show handwriting or any kind of like particular obvious source for the message. If it's supposed to be road rash, then what's the point of cutting it out with magazine letters? That doesn't make any sense, really. It makes you wonder if it's not really road rash and it's like a framing trick, or if it's the thing I'm wondering in the background, if it's going to turn out that road rash is herself chipped right now, and that's why the entire organization switched turns. In particular, a game where the protagonist is an ex-cop that left because of their sense of justice, because of the fact that they were abusing people, and then having the boyfriend that tries to justify the institution and so on, and is framed as being in the wrong. You wouldn't expect the game to take like a pro-cop stance by the end, and so it's like what we have here is the Thermian argument essentially. If you want, like, there's a Dan Olson video called the Thermian argument that can get into this pretty well, that unpacks this, but it's just like the idea of like when you're questioning a narrative, like as told by a story like this, they're the one that creates the framing device, they're the one that creates the scenario, which is all fiction, literally all of it's changeable. So you would question why they would make a story where the environmentalist gang suddenly turns into terrorists and attacks, because that justifies the police narrative. And in a lot of propaganda, you always want to make like the enemy faction turn evil and go too far. There's even like the element of like how every Marvel movie and a bunch of that and a bunch of narratives like that. There's a lot of stories lately where you have a villain who is just correct, basically. Like everything they say is correct. But then that villain has to turn around and start just murdering random people or putting a nuke in Gotham or something like that. People cite characters like Killmonger or Bane from The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises, which I have not watched those in ages, and I watched them both once because I didn't think they were especially good movies. Especially Dark Knight Rises is just a bad movie, honestly. But people often cite the fact that like Bane largely just made coherent, like cogent points, but then he just turns evil and tries to nuke a city. You're like, well, now he's bad because he's nuking a city, which is kind of unrelated to everything else he was doing. But like the idea, like, well, we just gotta stop the guy, and so they gotta do something that justifies the bad guy doing things. And like, in many cases, yes, like Batman is like a super cop, and most superheroes are a variation of super cop, and there's a question to be had about how to approach that and where to take that from. And specifically when you get into like characters like Spider-Man and some of the X-Men and some of these characters, they often shift the framing of the superhero away from just being a cop in a costume in a way to try to like unpack the ideas in a more leftist and more interesting way, because like a character like Batman is a particularly like kind of like a right-wing superhero when you get down to it. Like I love Batman movies. I like The Dark Knight. I like The Mask of the Phantasm. I like the old cartoon, the animated series that happened like the 90s. I'm not like, this is not my anti-Batman screed, and that's why why you should hate them. It's just worth being aware of the fact, like, the general framing device of the thing is he's a billionaire, and he is a guy who fights crime, and it generally means gotta beat up the guys and then put them in the institution where you imprison the guys, be it the normal prison for normal people or Arkham's Asylum for all the crazy supervillain people. And it historically, partly as a limitation of the medium and a genre convention, doesn't work. It does not improve his station and so on, and it's partly because of like they want the rotating rogues gallery of characters that never die and never get stopped and keep doing evil things, so they keep escaping from Arkham infinitely. Blah blah blah. Batman discourse is exhausting, and I understand that for some people, I'm being annoying just by even touching on it at all, but it is, on some level, worth acknowledging that superheroes are an extension of police ideology. In particular, it's been interesting seeing Season 3 of Invincible airing right now, because they're poking at that exact idea. The protagonist of Invincible is literally profiting from the prisons right now in the current season, and putting people in prison, and keeps making a point to say that you got to go to prison to every bad guy he encounters all the time, or people that he get that are from prison, or even people that talk about like yeah, I'm a criminal, but I'm also like, look at me cleaning up the streets and me doing things that are helping the community around here, and that like nuance or interrogation of whether or not this person might be doing things that are wrong, but also doing things that are good, and there being a conversation about how to deal with a guy like that and what that means. That kind of stuff like gets kind of thrown out the window because of the idea like, no, you are crime go in box is prison, and that like single-mindedness and that like that inability to have a conversation, which makes a lot of sense because the protagonist of Invincible grew up in American society, is fully inundated with these ideologies, and is himself like a 19-year-old or something. He's basically a kid. He's not supposed to have a well thought out ideology in general, and so that's a great chance to try to unpack that kind of stuff. And in particular, they had a very sympathetic, completely unvoiced introduction, a cold open to one of their episodes where they had a gay couple that were supervillains, and they got stopped from robbing a bank, and then they tried to clean up their act and went through thing after thing after thing of trying to figure out how to support each other and how to like have and keep a job and try to do anything they can to get by, and having everything go wrong and being fired from their positions and being preyed upon by landlords and bosses, and having their rent be spiked and being sent out homeless and all these things where they try to do it the right way and they get thrown out on their asses, and you see that temptation because they're super villains. They have powers or technology to want to take the easy way and see if they can steal money from a bank because the bank won't really hurt for it, and they don't want to hurt people in the process of stealing the stuff. They just want to steal the money and be allowed to live because they're marginalized people who cannot get by in the current system and are being punished for doing things normally. And there's a dichotomy there of how like they can't use their powers to get money the way that they would, but Invincible profiting off the prison system using his powers and hurting people in the process. Between these two people, Invincible is technically inflicting more violence upon people than the villains that he's locking up in some of these cases. And that is like, I'm not saying that either person's black and white in the right or in the wrong. I'm not saying go bank robbers and stuff like that necessarily, but it definitely is interesting to see a show interrogating the fact that one side of this faction is somebody who is stealing, and the other side of the faction is the people who are much more willing to inflict violence, in part because they're justified by what is legal and what is just. Because these people steal, it is correct to harm them in order to put them in prison. I think about all the time that like how strong the protagonist how strong Invincible it is, and whenever he hits someone, I'm always like, that's, you don't know if we just spent the last season finale questioning whether or not these people survive you punching them. So every time I brace now, it's like it's in the text. Anyway, more rambles and rants. I wish it was as easy to write video essays as it is for me to do big rambly messes. What I need to do is text to speech some of the rambles and then try to do an editing pass to make them into better scripts one day, but then also do better research and backup for this stuff and blah blah blah. Because every now and then I am just talking out my ass a little bit. But this is all to say, because God, I started on the Thermian argument. I'm so sorry. I'm in that kind of mood today apparently. But yeah, like it's always worth bringing up because like when people talk about the choices of individuals in a narrative, people often bring up the context of why they made the choice. Like, is the protagonist in Attack on Titan a fascist by the end and stuff like that? And then they'll be like, well, he did this thing because of that thing in the narrative and the blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, but the writer of the manga, they made the factions, they made the world, they made the outside threat, and so you can't say the protagonist represents this ideology. When somebody says that the protagonist represents this or that ideology, you can't counter argue it as based on the logistics of the story. You can't be like, well, the story called for this because this was happening. It's like, yeah, but the person who wrote that protagonist wrote that scenario for that protagonist to be in, and that's part of the same story. The world, there's a hyper-literalism that happens sometimes where people take the world as if it's just real, and the fictional characters exist in a world that is just real, and its laws are baked in, and the rules and its context and scenario just happened at them like a force of nature, and we're not identically fictional. And that's always really important to question, because that's like, why is the story framed that way? Why is the outside threat or inside, like why is the threat the form that it is? And that's why it's really interesting to unpack how often Batman is a story about police forces, and that like not only does he directly work with the police in a lot of narratives, but he's a guy who gets called, responds to the call, and it's like, that bad guy doing crime, I gotta beat him up and put him in the box, which is what police do, but like in a, you know, like child-friendly, like fun adventure form, instead of instead of watching The Wire or something. And like X-Men, by comparison, has such a wildly different framing device all the time. Not all the time, but like, I find it interesting how rarely, and I know I'm not a comics expert, there's 1 billion trillion comics, so someone can contradict me somewhere by looking in a different place or whatever, but like, I've watched a bunch of X-Men movies, I grew up watching a bunch of the X-Men cartoon, in admittedly like a random order growing up. Read some X-Men comics, particularly Gambit and so on. What I find interesting is how rarely I don't know if I can actually think of an example of X-Men being crime fighters, which is wild, because that's like the default position for the concept of a superhero, is that people treat like them being a crime fighter is just what superheroes are. But the X-Men in a lot of their best stories very specifically found how to make narratives about these people, generally, and it's generally because they frame them as marginalized people. People talk about how Professor X and Magneto are kind of stands-in sometimes for like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, or similar contrasting concepts, if not literally the people. And you essentially have two different factions of people: the more heroic X-Men and the more villainous opponents of the X-Men that are the Magneto's forces. And they have two different approaches to civil rights and how much action or violence is justified as a marginalized person that is being wronged. And they're almost never particularly about like stopping a bank robber. Instead, they're responding to the things that are happening to them. Like in episode 1 of the X-Men classic cartoon, Jubilee is attacked by a policing force unjustly. She, and this really gets interesting if you interrogate the X-Men as a marginalized people, as being like a racial minority or queer, and let them explore those concepts without trying to make it too literal and getting too like iffy, because it's like, yes, X-Men are a little iffy because they're like super powered people, so that on some level they are kind of more dangerous, and that changes the conversation. Real life queer people, real life black people are not magically superhumanly dangerous in any weird way. But like Jubilee is targeted by a policing force that is justified by the government, and she's targeted for what is essentially her queerness, and the entire opening arcs are just responses to that struggle, and are not about the X-Men patrolling the streets to clean up crime. And that's probably why I've always liked the X-Men way better than almost every other superhero, to the point where I kind of don't care about superheroes. I've absorbed a lot of Batman and enjoyed that because he's so fucking popular, and there's good stories there. And I've always liked Spider-Man, because he's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He does kind of like fight disturbances and like, you know, stop a guy from robbing a convenience store, because like a convenience store is a small place where one poor little guy is just trying to run his business, and this other guy is trying to do a violence on them to take their money, and that violence can go much further and like can end somebody's life. Like those situations, you kind of hope for a friendly little Spider-Man to swoop in and do things. And the fact that that in most of those stories he does not cleanly graft onto the narrative of Batman or onto policing forces, but instead acts as a small community of like people looking out for each other, is probably why it feels so much more appealing. It's also probably why it also so cleanly translates into just just having a black Spider-Man. That made more sense immediately for obvious reasons. I'm on so many rants now right now, but this is what happens. You put me in the cop place, and it's very interesting to think about, and I want people to think about this stuff. I want people to just go forward in their lives thinking about this stuff more actively if they're not. Think about police storylines. Think about why they're written. Think about why the villains are who they are, and why somebody would do that. And that's especially worth interrogating when so much of popular media right now is cop shows. Like, your parents, and especially your grandparents, probably watched something like, what's it called? Blue Bloods, I think? I didn't even know that existed. I remember CSI when I was a kid. I barely know NCIS exists. And I guess Blue Bloods is like the big one now or something. There's like a billion cop shows, though, or forensic shows, or cold case shows, and they're all about crime and solving crimes. And it's so worth interrogating what that does when your narrative has to be about that every single day, every single week, for years or decades. And who is the good guy and who is the bad guy, and what narratives happen there, and how often are the cops the bad guys, or how often does the police force that the story is about need to investigate what's wrong with them, or if anything is wrong with them, and stuff like that. Because, like, even House MD, a show about a doctor, frequently frames the doctor as the bad guy, and doctors are the bad guys probably way less than the police are, frankly. Not to say anything about the medical institution as a concept, but I mean, like, individual doctors just trying to diagnose things are usually not doing evil. They're at best, they're usually at worst being negligent, and so on. Alright. Yeah, all this is to say it'll be very interesting to see what they're going for with the Dune Busters and what their goal is there as a narrative device. And it makes me, and it's why I'm bracing somewhat inherently for the idea of, like, oh, there's a mind control device in here, and somebody that wants to do mass mind control. That immediately opens up the idea that that Road Rash is being mind controlled, and that's why there's such a drastic change in the behavior of the entire gang that was specifically framed as being non-violent environmental activists for like a decade or more or something, or years, or whatever long it's been. It's like, who benefits from the narrative that the bikers are actually violent terrorists? It's definitely a thing that the police would be tempted to do, in particular when it came to, like, BLM protesters and, like, the George Floyd stuff, or really just every single wave of protest that ever happens. There's always the police tendency to try to frame it as violently as possible, to overreact to it via their huge, not, I guess not SWAT teams, but their anti-riot teams, and how those groups specifically try to approach and escalate against these protests. They're trained to specifically try to turn protests violent in order by prompting reactions to them, or even assaulting them first, and trying to escalate things in order to then be able to frame the protest as violent and get rid of them. They're looking for the excuse to get rid of them. And there's just so many documented cases right now that anyone saying otherwise has to actively plug their ears for on behalf of the police. So it'd be a strange narrative choice if the environmentalists are actually the bad guys in this game. Even if they are weird environmentalists, where I'm like, I don't know if I genuinely agree with the idea that Mars's original ecosystem needs to be preserved when it presumably had no life, so it was just the raw beauty of an untarnished red planet, I guess. I don't know if I agree with the goal there. Let's see, but I get why the police would take the contents very, very seriously. Fuck, Anaya was right. This is way outside our pay grade. But we know shit even the police don't. If we don't act, who will? Well, you could tell the police based on that logic. I'm not supporting that logic. I'm just saying that logic, that sentence is not self-justifying. Like, we know stuff the police don't. Who will act? It's like, well, you could tell the police based on if you think that the police are an option, which you shouldn't right now. I gotta keep looking around. Dietrich has to have more intel on this somewhere. On a note, because I played Crow Country recently, which you can watch on Patreon Probably not yet, but soon? Maybe? It'll be on Patreon first, maybe weeks or months before it ever comes out publicly, but I've already recorded it. So look out for that. As a full playthrough, probably as one post. Somebody was asking if I just look up stuff about games before I play them, and like that's why I can guess where the narrative is going. And the answer is no. In particular, a game like this, I can't because nobody has played through it already, and I haven't played through it in advance or anything, and it's not in the cultural consciousness. I'm easily the loudest voice about this game, besides maybe a Twitch streamer somewhere, because that's harder to search because Twitch is a live thing. But I'm definitely the loudest voice on YouTube here for this game, and the answer is actually just that, like, one, I interrogate narratives constantly and think about this stuff all the time, but like it benefits to think about the economics of storytelling. We have the police, and we have the environmentalists, and we have our protagonist group at the CIO. That is basically the entire roster of this narrative so far, and it's a conspiracy where someone's up to something. So you can narrow down your fields of who it potentially is, usually based on that. Once you're a certain distance to the game, you can usually assume they've introduced all of the players by now. So it's probably not a wild rogue third party, but maybe it'll be introduced as being some CEO or something that's behind things. But right now it's so focused on the conflict between the environmentalists and the police that you would figure it's one of those two things. And then we have the introduction of the mind control thing, and the fact that the leader suddenly changed her behavior almost overnight, according to Crowbar, and quickly you can put together what might be the conclusion based on that kind of stuff. You might say it's predictable. I would say it's just foreshadowed, and oftentimes the most competent storylines are kind of predictable because they make sense. And something being unpredictable often requires either obfuscating information so much that it doesn't make sense, or just cheating and doing a thing that actively breaks the characterization in the setting. Alright, rant 50. Let's see. Swarm control. Let's try mind control. Just a note about bikers claiming capitalism with mind control. Nothing interesting. What about focus splitter? No, nothing. So the police doesn't know the bikers are after the focus splitting device. I guess Daria really didn't tell them anything about it. But the police doesn't have it, and Crowbar died before they could get it. Then who has it? Man, what a headache. Let's have some fun. Hot foxes in your area? No, let's be serious. Oh, I thought that was in his search history or something. I better look around the apartment some more. Anyway, that's hopefully enough extended media analysis rants for this episode for a while. Here I thought my place had a great view. Here I thought my place had a great view. I feel like I'm on top of the world. He's a top. That was not much of a guess, was it? I think I can turn off the water to prompt the scenario to end, or maybe you can talk to him in his room. It's so tall. The light switch or whatever. Where's the front door, actually? Oh, the front door. Oh, it's an apartment you walk down into, isn't it? These are genuinely such alien spaces for somebody to live in. It's insane to me. I'm also like, if that's the front door, I also can't help but think this is such an open fucking floor plan that, as nice as this property seems, like, I could, like, not function here as a person, which is funny to me. I need rooms. The only room that actually has a closable door, assuming that's the front door, is the bathroom. So this is like more space than I'll ever have in any property I'll ever live in, probably. But the only closing door is the bathroom door. Is there an office door? Does this slide shut, maybe? No, I don't think so. Not visibly, at least. Be like, I need a recording place. I need a place to be able to record and write that's separate from any kind of, like, guests or roommates, or not to mention the echo. Damn. Yeah, the lack of privacy, the difficulties there. Like, you're having anybody over for some cuddles. There's no plausible deniability. Everybody here knows exactly what's going on. There's not much of it. Although I'm approaching all this from the mentality of shared spaces in general, because I've literally never lived completely alone. Like the extravagance of just walking around the place like this and just being in your own space is bizarre to me. That there is such a tall window. Alright. Dietrich is busy in the shower. Perfect time to do a little snoop to snoop. Okay, so you do not talk to him while he's in the shower. He's also been showering for an hour now because I am a bad video maker, basically. This is gonna get so much like, why don't you just shut up and read the game comments from people that think that I'm just an audiobook person for them and not a let's player here for commentary. Turn off the water. A strange rumbling sound emanates from somewhere. The shower noise continues unabated. Huh? Was that not the main water I turned off? Dax looks around. Oh, what the hell? The waterfall disappeared. Dietrich, your flat really has it all, huh? Hello. You have a secret area. Hello. What the hell? Ever heard of storage discipline? Just has a gun sticking out. Delphi Zeta Plant Decorum Cavalcade Nuovo. What a lorem ipsum ass code. Hello, you got a secret Batman stash. What's the deal here, buddy? Holy shit. Holy shit, Dietrich. Has this been here the whole time? Why would you go this far? And for what? I always knew you were big on security, but this is next level. Not that good at security, though, if you can immediately conquer it via adventure game behavior. Dax takes a moment to take the small room crammed full with Dietrich's most private possessions. Another PC? Now it makes sense why Dietrich has nothing worth hiding on the other one. Still, a secret PC in a secret room. Behind a waterfall? Just get two-factor authentication. Let's just type some simple terms in the search bar. There's a list of people who offered to work out and then resell wolf bodies. You can watch them do stuff to your body. I guess that's a kink. So he does, doesn't he? He buys pre-exercised wolf bodies like I suspected. He doesn't actually use his gear. Let's see here. This is bikers. Some text-to-speech notes about road rash. Based on witness accounts and police observation, it is clear that founding member Road Rash is their leader. She is the only one to look to for organization and order. She seems responsible for several of the Dune Busters' acts of deviancy. As expected from a gang leader, Road Rash is loud and brash, quick to threaten violence. Our officers are no longer permitted to approach her unarmed and without backup. Naturally, she has a strong dislike for the pillars of organized society, such as commerce and the concept of a meritocracy. Witness accounts place her at questionable locations such as bars on the outskirts of the city. Allegedly, her favorite drink order is... Wait, why waste my breath on trivialities? While Road Rash regularly patronizes said bars, she also spends an astonishing amount of time at the commune out in the desert. The evil commune! We have to get rid of the communists! Let's see. She has a strong dislike for the pillars of organized society, such as commerce and the concept of meritocracy. Uh-huh. Yep. Uh-huh. This is why you struggle with these people. It's the fact, it's not just that she has a strong dislike for these ideas. You editorialize that these are the pillars of an organized society. You could never possibly have an organized society that's based on a commune, could you? It has to be. It has to be capitalism, and it has to be this idea of meritocracy, the idea that you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you'll just magically succeed if you try hard enough. Which, wow, recent generations are a bit disillusioned with that concept. I wonder why. Could it be that it doesn't work? The commune is nothing but crudely hammered accommodations and campfires, rather hippy-dippy. I can see the way he grimaced when he wrote that last bit. He just wouldn't even sleep in a luxury glamping tent. The rest, I suppose it tracks with what I know about Road Rash. Pavonis cops. So this is the list of people Dietrich wants on citizen outreach during the statue unveiling ceremony. Wow. This guy must not be worried about the police image at all, or he trusts some of these people more than he lets on. Because to put Snifty, Gene, and Juiced on here is a choice, and not the most charismatic one. Wow. Maybe this was eliminated a long time before they fucked up bringing Crowbar in. So before yesterday. Mind control, show me your secrets. Alright, these look like Dietrich's notes on the subject. Mind control tech, though usually referenced by paranoid individuals in online spaces, is real. No reliable information on why it was built exists. Misinformation and rumors run rampant. Poses danger on the user and the controlled individual. User is immobile, highly focused on the act of controlling. Technology can only facilitate the control of one individual. Controlled person experiences memory loss, can't remember the time span they were controlled. Possibility, brain damage. More research necessary. Okay, this we know, but Dietrich knows too? Either the bikers are using this tech a lot more liberally than I thought, or... fine, I can admit it in the privacy of this waterfall room. Dietrich is one damn good investigator. What else does he know about? He's probably filming you right now, by the way. Focus splitting, first used on Earth, is almost completely unused on modern-day Mars. Focus splitter and mind control combined could allow the user to remain immobile while controlling others. This would grant users unprecedented powers. Not many people have this information, but it is accessible. Its usage would be very hard/impossible to trace. Dietrich already had this realization? I only just had it last night. He researched this very well. Anaya and I stumbled onto the mind control device, but he didn't even have that. To find all this info without help is... wow. You assume he's never found a mind control device. They could have been discovered before. Nothing new for us, but if someone else comes to the same conclusion, it's probably the sound one. I just wish I wasn't comparing notes with Dietrich of all people. Why does he have to be so perfect at everything? Terrorist attack. This search word leads to a number of files, all titled something with security precautions. First one's a map of potential terrorist attack sites. The annotations are a bit too vague to pin down, but man, they're all over the city. On the next page, there are a lot of notes about the structural integrity of structures in case of detonation. Is that what the attack is going to look like? Oh, this is so grim to consider. Imagine walking down the lakeside boulevard and having to worry about that. You wouldn't feel safe anymore. That is what makes it a terrorist attack. Let's see the next one. Oh, this one's a giant Excel sheet about stop and search locations, number of officers per location, their equipment, and the budget for all that. I don't recognize any of these from the lists of the CIO has access to. Does that mean these are new proposals? Holy hell, that's a lot of new locations. Back in the day, all we ever found doing stop and searches was misdemeanors. Fat load of good that did, harassing some teens. Much precaution, very prevention. Wow. Wow. Doge. Do Doge references persist into the year 2185 or 4? I haven't thought about that in ages. Jeez. What a ruined reference. It's like it's so old that it's like the I think the references themselves are so old that the dog in question has died, I think. But also it's like now it's Elon Musk's like anti-government foundation, whatever the fuck, that thinks it's gonna cut red tape, but it's mostly just like kind of just ruining our country in a way where it's like, can't wait to see what the long-term ramifications are of so many institutions getting gutted that usually were made for a reason, and we're gonna find out the long way, because these actions probably have decades of consequences. I love the word Doge now. Let's see here. They did not know that when they were developing this game for years, how badly that was going to go bad. Although Dogecoin and other stuff, like it did become a somewhat exhausting reference about who cared about it for a while. But yeah, what you see here We have a potential motive here for the conspiracy, because like, oh yeah, you won't feel safe anymore, right? So this justifies increased budget, increased stop and search locations, increased policing. So a huge boost towards the police as an institution, their budgets, their reach, what they're allowed to do to people and where they're allowed to do it. It's all they gain more power and more influence and so on as a direct result from this. So they benefit from it, which points to the idea towards the idea that someone's doing this to do this. Like that's their end goal. And this file is next year's budget proposal to have a new terrorism unit. Don't we have one already? Teachers must be really scared about this terror threat. He always like to be over-prepared. Then again, being over-prepared... Then again, being better over-prepared than... Yeah. Not sure how I feel about this. Could the bikers really... Well... All the pieces are in place for the conspiracy, for someone to specifically cause this kind of uproar and this kind of fear to shore up these kinds of resources. I'll have a look around the desktop. This PC isn't secured by a password. When Dax gets to the desktop, all he finds is a single file folder. It doesn't look as if the PC gets used a lot. It's very neat, even for Dietrich. I'll just look up some specific words. That should turn something up. Who knows when Dietrich is going to be done showering? I was just thinking about that. This guy has the longest possible I know it's my fault to some extent, but even if you did this at normal speed, that's a long fucking shower for a dude. Maybe he has infinite water and resources and doesn't, or just really likes long showers. People are like that, obviously, but compared to a lot of people, this seems like an unusually long shower. Particularly when you have a guest, it feels like a little weird on that level. To the point where I'm like kind of wondering if he specifically wants Dax to find this information for one reason or another. Like have the plausible deniability that this information leaked without actually giving it to him or something. There's another note here. Did I make a mistake? Where is the hole in my security? I can't let them get to me again. I've worked too hard for this. Get to me? Who got to Dietrich? This gives me an awful feeling in the pit of my stomach. Huh? Oh, Dax hears the clunk of a door opening and the rush of the shower getting louder. Oh, I guess Dietrich is tired of showering all alone. He's probably wondering where I went and waiting for me. No, mood killed. I think it's more important we talk about this. Maybe we can help each other out here? You know, in the shower? No, behave. Just this once and see how it goes. Interesting setup to do a bit of the buddy cop Disco Elysium-y thing and then just try like pivoting to a different partner midway through. Could you imagine if Disco Elysium had different partners on different days? Especially with the non-linearity of a lot of the quests, and you could literally have entire quests recontextualized by who you happen to encounter them with. Let's see. Check out Dietrich, am I right? So we can't close it, so I guess we're just going to admit we found this and not try to play it off. Well, who is opening this door? Who is opening this door without turning off the shower? Get out of the shower, sopping wet. Did somebody break in and attack him? Is that what's happening? Dietrich! Maybe he can't hear me in the shower. Dietrich really need to take a... Oh, did he die? Nope, he's hot. Definitely awake. So this is bait, I guess. He just intentionally is giving us a peek. If you walk up to a running shower with a cracked open door, it's such an odd, horny-ass move to make that if you're not doing specifically that, I'd be like, did you intend... Did somebody just come in and kill this guy? This is part of the conspiracy. I do think that Dax was probably filmed one way or another. I bet that if this guy's this security focused, one, it's weird that he wouldn't have a password on his secret waterfall thing, unless he wants Dax to find it. But one way or another, there's probably a camera in that room that turns on to film anyone who goes in there, so he knows who did it. Dax nearly falls with the shock of the very familiar sight he's just witnessed. There, nestled in Dietrich's dense fur at the back of his neck, is an unmistakable scar. That missing patch of fur on his neck. That looks like Crowbar's neck after I pulled that mind control device off them. Someone got to Dietrich. Someone fucking mind controlled Dietrich. Shit. I've got to tell someone. I need to find Anaya now. And with that, Dax barreled out the door. Is that just the mind control device? It looked like he had an entire fucking Ghost in the Shell series of slots across his entire back, didn't he? Also, why would the door be open like that? Did he bait us? Did he also bait for us to see that? Like, I feel like Dax is not sufficiently interrogating the intentionality of Dietrich's actions, because, like, why is he randomly revealing that in the moment and so on? Unless he wants you to specifically know on that and act on that, while also exposing the fact that he knows that stuff to you. Either way, it seems like he knows that he was mind controlled, and that's the whole, like, the thing about, like, how did someone get to me? And so he's been actively researching it because it happened to him, which admittedly doesn't make him that good of a researcher, because he knew it happened because it happened to him first. The question is what happened when it was happening to him. Does Dietrich even remember us arresting us in the first place, or was that not him when he came after the aquarium? Let's see. Dax is crossing a highway overpass, headed for the nearest tram stop. Paws in pockets and deep in thought. The highway below him rumbles away. What does this all mean? Is Dietrich mind controlled too? He for sure wasn't last night. They must have got him. When? Yeah, I don't think he's mind controlled right now because there's no device on him. There's just like the spot, like the scar or whatever, I guess, from it attaching, which is upsetting, the idea of it coming out. Last person it came out of was dead, at least. I need water. Anaya was fucking right. This is dangerous, but that's the job. Looking away is not the way. But what do I expect from an ex-cop? Bravery where it actually counts? Tch. Hello. Anaya is being chased by bikers. Great job, Dax. Almost died already. There's animation in this game a little bit. That's startling. Actually, well, it was in the a lot of that was in the trailer, but it's cool to see there's more of it. I thought that maybe those were like little hints of like a concept trailer, and that might have been all the animation that ever existed, but that animation was like 3 times longer, and there's still more in the trailer that hasn't shown up here, so that's cool. Anaya. Dax? What? And I cannot stress this enough, the fuck? Hey, whoa, that's my line. Didn't you want the police to take over so you can go home and put your feet up? I wanted you to go home and get out of harm's way. Certain harm's way. Hang on, so you lied to me? Why do people think I'm an idiot? She specifically kept investigating without us. She just wanted us to go away because compared to her, we're basically a kid, whereas she's like an ex-cop in her 40s and she's ready to fuck some shit up. Wind your neck in, kid. I was more worried about you being too successful in your investigation. Right, investigation. I have something to tell you about Dietrich. Wonderful, but... Bang, bang, bang. The truck gets hit by a barrage of what sounds like tiny metal objects impacting at very high speeds. Whoa, they're still shooting at us. What are they after? What the hell happened, Anaya? Found me my own bikers based off of what we learned. Down by the docks, I saw 2 of them load a crate into this truck. So, here I am, with the very same truck. Wow, some sneaking around shit, eh? Guess I should say sorry, you're not a coward. I really shouldn't have said that. Guess I should say sorry. You're not a coward. I really shouldn't have said that. Thanks, but maybe save the apology for later. Anaya swerves as a biker is closing in on the side. So, weird question, but where are you driving us? No idea. They already had an auto destination programmed in, like, somewhere out in the desert by the looks of it. But she hopped in when the GPS was already set, and she's just following that. Dax squints at the control screen. Out in the desert? Why would... Wait, you hear that? You hear what? Why would what? Also what? Like, the desert... The bikers are in the desert. That's where the commune is, right? Exactly. Hear what? Exactly. Bikers peeled off. Why? Let me have a look. Dax twists around in the driver's cabin, too tiny for his build. Dax squeezes at the gap between the seats and into the back of the truck. What did you say they loaded into the truck, Anaya? A crate. Why? Dax gives the crate a sniff, knocks politely to gauge the material, then puts his ear to it. Well, this crate sounds awfully like a ticking bomb, a time bomb, Anne. Oh, Christ. What do I do? Why is there a bomb? Is this the terror attack Dietrich's talked about? Terror attack? Come again? If it's a terror attack, why is it going into the desert? Away from the town. That seems like an ineffective terror attack destination, unless they... You wouldn't think they would need to type their destination back home. They would need it for the target, right? Dax fills Anaya in at the speed machine. Dax fills Anaya in at a speed machine guns with envy. He tells her about finding Crowbar, getting acquainted with Road Rash, and carefully edits out certain details about spending the night with Dietrich, and why he's walking like that. Okay. Wow. Fuck. If the bikers manage to snatch and puppet a police captain, we're in deep shite. Does that make both of us right, then? It would bring me no joy. Back to the task at hand. Describe the bomb to me. My bomb disposal training was a while ago, but let's give it a shot. I'm not giving up this piece of evidence that easily. Crap, you really mean it, huh? Okay, it's a crate. It's got a keypad on it. Y'all should trade. You need this. I know it's keeping Dax involved in the process because the story is told from his perspective. I'm like, y'all should really hop seats right now. Don't describe it. Let's see. Okay, so the goods are all sealed. First, we got the case off then. Roger that. Pry open the lid. Dax holds his claws into the lid. Crack, it lifts off. I knew getting that extra durable manicure was worth it, and not just for getting the lint out of my charging port. Oh, wait on that. That easy? Guess I never built this case with my fantastic claws in mind. Alright, what do you see? A bunch of things, mostly cables and bits they go into. Aye, sounds about right. Cables we leave for last. Describe the bits that you've got there. Yeesh, first it's your turn to buy me dinner. Dax, the bomb you have in your hands, the bomb made by bikers, the bikers bomb, please? Yes. So I'm seeing what's probably a lot of C4, a battery, a little tube, and even an even littler thingy. Okay, deep breaths. I'm going out on a limb and saying the smallest object is a radio transmitter. They want to know if that thing is still alive. If you're wrong, it's not just the limb we're going out of. Got a better idea? Nope. Sorry, Anne. I know a better idea. Swap, so she can do it herself and know what she's looking at. So, little radio transmitter needs to shut up. Leave it to me. Crush it or throw it out the window. Throw it out the window would give them an incorrect destination to go after. I feel like we should just ask her what to do, but sure, let's just guess. Let's throw it out the window instead of destroying it. Here goes! Dax slices through the single cable connecting the transmitter and hurls it out the window. What did you just do? Also, how does Dax have access to a window? He's in the back of a truck. Took care of it. And hey, look, we're still here. I can't argue with that. So that leaves all these fun, colorful cables and the main star of today's show, the explosives. Alright, what color cables go into the explosive? Sort of ultramarine, almost indigo blue, one ruby red. Should I mention that I'm in a red car? Are you? How good are you at the witness, Anaya? Did you beat the part of the witness where you go up the elevator and then the colors change on every floor because they're not actually changing, it's just the lighting in the room that's changing? Because we're in a red room, Anaya, and that's gonna be a problem, Anaya. How many cones do cats have? Do anthrocats have different number of eye cones than humans? I doubt the exact shade hugely matters, but still, thank you, it sure paints a picture. So, which one do I cut, Anne? Let me think. How'd that mnemonic go? Blue cable isn't able... No, that wasn't it. Blue cable is able. Well, that's a problem if you got a mutually exclusive split in your brain. What's with these shite mnemonics that don't even rhyme with the actual distinguishing feature? Okay, well, we're 50-50. I've had worse odds. No, Dax, stop taking the initiative. The whole point is for Anaya to do things. You need to stop. Also, is or isn't able. What does that even mean? Cut the red wire. Wait! Cutting ruby red. No, don't. Cut the blue one. Okay, I got you. Click. Dax neatly slices the cable with his index claw. 1 second. 2 seconds pass. We're still here. How'd you remember? It's red, you're dead in the end, and I ended up developing my own rhyme. Don't laugh. But it's great. Shut it. Oh, it's red, you're dead. In the end, I ended up developing my own rhyme. That's what the line was. I said it slightly weirdly. Anyway, we did it. We sure did. Fair play, Dax. Same to you. I was wrong about you, you know. You say that a lot, I feel like. And I was right about you. Hey, now, I was trying to have a moment here. Let me finish. I was right about you. You're good at biting down, not letting go till you find the truth. Which is good, or you would have flown right off the top of this truck when you landed on it and been a very, very, smashed tomato of lion. I do still worry about you, but I can hardly fault you for doing what I do myself. Guess we're both a bit reckless and a bit brilliant. Aye, that's a compliment I can take. The truck slows down and rumbles to a stop. The hot engine plinks as it cools. We're here. What a massive coincidence that Dax even got here. The hideout. There's pizza here. Pigeon pizza. We're here. Wherever here is supposed to be. This is where the truck was supposed to go. No kidding. This really is out in the boonies. Looks like some abandoned habitat dome, industrial zone. What are we looking at, Mars boy? Mars boy, excuse me, Earth girl. Excuse me, princess. I'm not too sure, but it looks like this might be an early settlement. They didn't last too long, and they've been abandoned way longer than I've been alive for. Looks deserted, but not abandoned to me. Someone's lived here recently. Since we're still breathing and all, the dome's been maintained. Anaya squints in the distance. Lots of bikes, that. You think this could be the Dunebuster's secret lair? Wouldn't put this next to the directory entry for secret lair, but sure, why not? But why would they send a truck full of explosives to their own lair? This doesn't really fit the terror attack Dietrich was prophesizing. Yep, that raises all sorts of questions. At first I thought it might be that they're blowing up an abandoned settlement as a symbol for keeping Mars dead, like obliterating an abandoned civilized location to be like, no, this stuff won't stand, but not actually endangering anybody. But it's their own hideout. So was it a terror attack being planned against the bikers, and the bikers were trying to stop the truck? Or was it their truck, but they were mind-controlled bikers and they were there to attack the other bikers because the people doing the mind control stuff are attacking multiple fronts? and trying to escalate a war between the cops and the bikers. There's a lot of things we can poke at here. I don't remember what she said about the original context of how we got it. I also can't scroll that far back anymore because the scene changed. I forget if she said she stole it from them directly. I think that was the point, though. So those bikers must have been in on it. I'm trying to remember if they got the splitter or not, though. They did. They got the splitter. The splitter's missing from the Brontosaurus place. She mentioned that. So whoever's doing this could control more than one person at once by now. Maybe. If it must be really easy, though. Or they got really good at it or trained or something. Because, like, controlling multiple people that are not only existing at the same time, but driving vehicles and shooting. Well, they weren't doing great at shooting. They were stormtroopering it, but they were driving motorcycles, so that's gotta be hard to do with multiple brains at once. From the looks of it, the charge would have been enough to take out this entire place. Why would they blow up their own place? I'd wager they didn't want the world to see what they've got here. Looks like an attempt at tying off a loose end. Then let's go tug on it. So it might be that the people it might be that the person at fault here, be they road rash as a plant or some kind of person that doesn't actually agree with the bikers but is using them, or whoever's controlling road rash and the bikers then was going to blow up the bikers because they've served their purpose. They might have literally just taken over the bikers to ferment conflict between the bikers and the police, and then to steal the multi-tap thingy, the splitter. And then once they have the splitter, they'd be like, well, we don't need the bikers anymore, let's blow them up before people catch up with us, especially since they might know about us being on their tail, and so they might want to clear up the loose ends so there's nothing to investigate, because whoever's involved, be they road rash or somebody else, whoever's behind this if they know that we're onto them, might want to destroy the only people that we know to investigate so far. They might be a shadowy figure that we don't know to pursue yet. So if they go and cut all loose ends and obliterate the bikers, they might completely leave us with a dead end, and they might be that. I was gonna say desperate, but like if they don't care about the bikers, then they're not even that. It's not even that desperate to get rid of them. It's just, well, they've served their purpose, or they're no longer useful if they're being tracked and they know that it's connected to the mind control thing. I better get rid of this before people know what I'm up to. A lot of possibilities. Moxie 0451. That's funny. We're on the Desert Wastelander place, so Moxie kind of reads as a reference to Borderlands, maybe, with Mad Moxie. That's a character, right? I don't like Borderlands, like, at all. The aesthetic's fun. I enjoyed Tales from the Borderlands, the Telltale game. I hate the video games because I hate looter shooters, and I just think, like, a looter shooter is just a shooter that's made to feel worse by the guns not being consistent and the content being repetitive and grindy and the levels being worse. I'd rather just play an actual shooter that is a well-paced 6 to 12 hour campaign instead of a 30-hour grind-a-thon version of guns. It's like, in Diablo you just click on people, and that's almost more palatable than, like, because I don't know what a click's inherently supposed to feel like, but I know what a gun is supposed to feel like in a good video game, and so games that make the guns worse for RPG mechanics are painful. But anyway, speaking of games that make the guns worse for RPG mechanics, the other half of that, 0451, it's a reference to Looking Glass Studios and immersive sims. Any kind of immersive sim game will put 0451 oftentimes as their first password or a reference to it somewhere in the game, but sometimes just people who are fans of the general concept, or in our case maybe an investigative thriller, will put that in there. Oftentimes as a reference to Deus Ex. Other games are referencing a Thief when they do it. I think the first password in Prey was 0451, because that's the direct follow-up on that, and the hologram, the 3D hologram system in that game was called the Looking Glass or something like that, as an additional reference to Looking Glass Studios. So for those that don't know, 0451 is the immersive sim number, which is a number that more or less applies to like Deus Ex, Prey, Thief, and arguably kind of Bioshock, although that game's a little more casual about the stuff. It does not really apply to this game, but there's a lot of like games that use it additionally, and so putting them together kind of feels like a joint reference. Also, making your gunplay worse for immersive sim reasons makes way more sense, because those games are about having a wild variety of solutions to your problems via a bunch of really interesting gameplay mechanics that all interlock in really cool ways. And, that's a file, yeah. That's a bit more interesting than number go up because I shoot thing a lot, and so on. That's more in the mind of, like, the gun. They don't want the gun to be the universal solution to everything, because then you want to do stuff. Let's see. Okay, they put a bunch of crates together to let you hop onto a roof, and then they put a 451 in your line of sight when you do that. That's the joke, right? I think I get the joke. Yeah, climbing some crates to get up on top of a building and then seeing 0451 is like the most direct reference you might do to immersive sims. Because a common solution to problems is to just grab a bunch of crates or physics objects and use them to jump over a fence or something and circumnavigate the very idea of doing otherwise. Because in a this is a problem people have with BioWare games, is that they're RPGs. And they are, but they're so driven towards the idea that decisions only happen in dialogue. So you play a series of linear storylines until you get to the point where an RPG choice happens, and then that's where the split is, where you get to be a renegade shepherd or a paragon shepherd. But in other games like Dark Souls, you make decisions outside of cutscenes, like when you fucking murder an NPC because you feel like it. Now the game has to react to that. And in immersive sims, you'll be given a choice of like, okay, so this gate is locked. You can either lockpick the gate with your lockpicking skill, or you can go to this terminal over here to hack the gate, or you could try to charm the guard into letting you in by lying to him with fake or stolen credentials, or you can lure the guard over there and knock him out and steal his stuff, and then open the gate yourself. And there's like, wow, what a crazy number of gate solutions you have, and then you stack a bunch of boxes and jump over the gate. You're like, it's like, those all feel like when you look at those series of things, it would look like 4 or 5 authored, obvious, programmed in, designed choices that are like the things that they plan for you to do. Whereas you doing the crate thing feels like you getting away with something. And they might have planned for that. They often probably did. But the satisfaction of being able to stack up some crates to hop over something is based around the idea that like, oh wait, these systems work in these ways. And then just improvising a solution based on the systems at play, instead of doing one of the telegraph systems that the game's told you to do. And the reasons why immersive sims are very unpopular and keep failing whenever they try to reboot is because gamers actually don't usually want to think of their own solutions for things. They kind of do want to just be given two or three options and pick one. So you have to train players to even play games like that correctly in the first place. And that's the struggle. And that's why the creators of Prey will never make another Prey, and we just get to be sad about that forever. Oh? Looks like someone jammed their phone in here. Dax long presses the power button, but the phone beeps awake from power saver mode. Lady Luck is smiling on me today, still 4% juice on this. Jack starts swiping through the apps. Huh? No database, no convo log, not even Mapler? What kind of homebrew setup is this? What is Mapler? Is it a fuck app? Is it an app for where you fuck? Aha! At least I recognize this one, Jotter. This one, Jotter. He's not calling the owner Jotter, it's the app is Jotter. Let's see what notes they were keeping on here. Day 1. We chanced on this abandoned settlement in the desert. Geo says it's from the first days, way before they started on the crater. It's a good place to start fresh, away from the conformist hubbub of the city. A lot needs to be done before it's habitable. Fixing the atmospheric dome is first, naturally. I hate being up that thing. It makes me dizzy. But only up here do you see the expanse of Mars. Wide, open, red, free. We don't have to repeat what we did on Earth. We're not shackled to our fate. So I stay up there and help, even as dizzy as I am. So it's a diary. One of the Dune Busters was chronicling their little project. What else is there? See, that's a more relatable origin to the idea. I don't know if that's inherently right to be like, terraforming's bad, we shouldn't make Mars habitable, because like we probably, if you're gonna colonize this place and it has no existing indigenous anything, I don't know, it might be nice to make the atmosphere livable and gain the ability to plant crops and stuff like that. Whatever it takes to get there would be nice. That's a level of civilization that isn't capitalistic yet. But yeah, like looking at all this and saying this is our chance for a fresh start and to not repeat the mistakes we made on Earth, hard agree. There is so much shit you would not want to recreate once you have the chance of getting to a new planet and being able to start anew at civilization. It's one of my favorite things about the Walking Dead series is that by the end of that series, it starts to ask you the question about whether or not, like the question that more post-apocalyptic stories should be asking, which is, why would you recreate what we had? Was that good? Was that worth preserving? Because what happens is when a zombie apocalypse or a nuclear apocalypse or whatever happens, your first question, you're put into a horrible situation, and so your first thing is to wistfully and desperately try to claw your way back to what you had before, because that was definitely better than being in nuclear fallout or being eaten by zombies. But when you do claw your way back out of that horrible situation, it is worth asking, why would you recreate the world as you knew it? Isn't there much better ways the whole thing could have been than the suffering that was created by the past system? And Walking Dead very pointedly does ask that question by the end of it, like, why would you recreate America? And in many cases, the villains are the people who say that they are America, like the remnants of the old government and the people that try to recreate things as they were, are by the end of the story the villains, because Walking Dead is actually maybe a pretty interesting leftist narrative when you get down to what it actually ends up doing, and how even the Alexandria is like led by a council of people that are representatives of different like fields that people need to survive and to organize their society, and like, and they're a little commune-ish. I don't know if it quite fits, but like the people are like not necessarily elected, and they're not serving. I don't think they are serving like terms exactly, and there definitely isn't a leader. Rick Grimes tries to be the leader at the beginning when they're literally in a prison, which is feels a little pointed that they're literally in a prison during the part where Rick tries to be a leader, and then when they move on past the prison, they have a more open community, and it's more specifically about a group of representatives trying to make decisions on behalf of everybody, and those people swap in and out, and it's a community that's organizing. And specifically, what's interesting is that for the majority of the Walking Dead story, you'll eventually realize nobody uses money. Money doesn't exist. It's communities trading resources because some of them have things that other communities don't have, and everyone's just getting what they need from each other and trading what they have in excess. And it's like, hang on a minute, this comic series is doing something, which I find fascinating because it's a series that's popular with conservatives because it has a guy on a motorcycle who has a crossbow, and it's all like a prepper's dream, and it's like all these cool, like it's got southern characters with motorcycles and big guns, and the main guy's a sheriff, and that very surface level superficial stuff is able to disguise the ideology that's actually informing a lot of that stuff. And so half those people don't even question the idea of whether or not Walking Dead was woke all along or whatever until a gay people kiss on camera like 7 years into it. It's like, hang on a minute. You're like, oh buddy, I hate to break it to you, but this thing was doing something the whole time. Let's read further. Day 213. Trouble found us. Beacon, Road Rash, and I went on a salvaging trip, and the rest of us on a supply run. While we were gone, folks moved in. Well, we want to be a place for everyone, unlike the city. But they trampled our crops, burned a bunch of my sculptures, and stole the only valuable scrap. I get it. They're down their luck, angry and desperate for cash. The city failed them. But isn't this where we come in? Road Rash championed their inclusion. We're open to anyone, she said. Geo said it could attract the coppers. I backed Road Rash, and yet it's led to senseless destruction. This seemed a lot easier in theory. Yep, they are a peaceful commune trying to figure it out in real time. That's wild. So they brought in people came in and ruined their shit and made their lives worse, and they opened their arms to them. That's the people that are being framed as terrorists right now? Something's clearly up. Crowbar didn't mention this to me. Let's see what happens next. Day 441. Crowbar apologized to me today. They realized it had been my sculptures they burned. Oh, so Crowbar was in that group. Yeah. Was it mentioned that there was a crow? Because they said Crowbar didn't mention this to me, but did it say? It just said new folks, right? I could be wrong. They realized it had been my sculptures they had burned. I'm glad, but I'm still wary. It seems a lot better these days, definitely more sober. They seem a lot better these days. Crowbar seems more sober. Their friends fucked off. I'm sorry we couldn't help them, but I'm glad they're gone. I'm sorry I'm not a better utopianist. Oh, so that's why Crowbar didn't mention this. But it does explain why they're so passionate about the Dune Busters. They saved them when they were in a bad spot. Day 668. It's our 1-year anniversary. Nothing like spending it in the endless red dust, wheels spinning underneath you. Road Rash spotted a downed space cruiser and is checking it out. Time for a break. The midday sun is beating me down. Okay, not very informative so far. Oh wait, the same day continues. Police arrested Road Rash. It's bullshit. Salvaging is legal. How are we getting her out? A bail money pool? I wanted to help. She sent me away. Just managed to loose the coppers. I pray they won't find our junkyard oasis. Could this be? Oh, the text got really small because... Right. I keep thinking this is a scroll bar, but it's just a highlight of which ones are selectable. So when they have more options, the text has to get scroller to fit all the options, because you actually can't scroll it. It could be that Crowbar got captured. Not Crowbar. Road Rash got captured and then chipped. And it hasn't been Road Rash ever since then. Whoever did this, who also got to Dietrich. Day 698. Oh, that was a while ago. I thought the last one was supposed to be the last day. Geo, Beacon, Crowbar, and I were ready to march on the town hall. Who do we see on the edge of town? On her bike, as if nothing ever happened? Road Rash. How much later is that? Oh, 668 was already... Okay, never mind. 30 days later. I thought we were still in the 400s. I messed up. If anyone can do it, it's her. She's cagey about it, though. And behaving differently in general. Okay, yeah, so she's already chipped. She snapped at Crowbar today. I thought it was nerves. Then, I think it's supposed to say, typo. Then I saw her put Geo in a chokehold, behind the containers. She dragged him off, don't know where. She didn't see me, I think. She chipped him. Or her. I don't have no idea. I don't know who Geo is. Oh my god. This must have been when they were getting snatched up and mind-controlled. Nightmare fuel. Road Rash started acting weird after being in custody. Now you're gonna tell me it's radicalization. Yes, no. I didn't know Anaya was here. There was no evidence Anaya was here. I'm up on top of a weird roof and she was standing way the hell over there. Her suddenly popping in now is startling. I feel like I should be raising this conversation to her later, and not that she was already here, climbing up here. I don't know. Maybe? That seems like the best explanation so far. But we've barely scratched the surface of what's around us. Let's keep looking. Don't have to tell me twice. Keyword resolved, bikers. Oh, we're just done with it. If she came out of nowhere right at the end. Whoops. Oh wait, I got RSVP a little bit. There we go. Forgot to tell some people that we're going to be around later for something. All right. Got some bottles. This one's half full, but from the bottom up, even though it's sideways. I don't see these things as genuine flaws when I see them. I just like to notice the weird premium Martian beer. I like watching the funny little goofs that happen with the environmental assets, because there's only so much stuff to scatter around, and inevitably there's going to be like weird inconsistencies. Like the bookshelf test, where I look at the bookshelf and see whether or not it repeats the same asset over and over again, which breaks the bookshelf whole premise. It's like, this isn't somebody's bookshelf. Why would they own the same book 75 times? Look at that funny little video game. Just 2 joysticks. Is that a cartridge? Probably. And some donkey cock? Y'all got some donkey cock? I can't zoom in on that. What a thing that... Oh. Alright, this person has spike bracers. And electric guitars. Giant tires on their wall for decoration. And they read. They've got like a Beats to Study / Relax to hammock. That's a setup. Gotta really attach those to some anchor points. Somebody has that's the upside of not living in a place that's just all drywall all the time. But yeah, what I find interesting about that little thing is like, okay, who's putting their chair on that slant? I know it looks aptly populated or whatever, but it's like that bench I found in Fallout New Vegas. It's the middle of the military compound, that one like encampment. I'm like, who's putting this bench on a fucked up slope? Just fix it. This is your break room. It's being actively used. Why would anyone live like that? It's like, who's putting this chair here? Who would ever do that? Look at that. Put it on the flat part, you weirdo. And also, don't you want to have the view of looking out into the encampment anyway? That's the angle you would sit at. No one's doing that. But yeah, these kind of details encourage you to look around, and so it's always funny that paradoxically the encouragement to look around will make you more likely to notice all the weird little inconsistencies. Like how a game like Dead Space or BioShock is famous for their environmental storytelling and also making you scavenge every particle of the environment for little pieces of stuff everywhere, but the act of doing that will likely actively reveal all the mistakes in the environment. What's in here? Oh. Life finds a way. It's a Jurassic Park quote. A little note says swear jar. They put their swears in the vending machine. This doesn't look right. Like a biblically accurate radio tower. I guess we're not looking at the document itself. That looks like a cigarette. Looks like a giant cigarette holder. A cigarette holder for macros, which exists in this setting. And they should step on me. Slowly. I want to be crushed, but not in the way where people sometimes like to be want macros to crush people in the horrific way. You're like, wait, no, not like that. I reckon this is Road Rash's room. Leader gets the nicest room. So it follows this is Road Rash's hardware. Aye? Doesn't it look a little too sleek and expensive to be a biker affair? Wow, Anaya, I thought you were going to say she stole it or something. Focus, Dax. Let's see what's on it. Anaya presses the power button and the pair is greeted by a password input. Any ideas? No sticky notes around here? What are you, 90 years old? I thought I did see sticky notes in this room though. Allow me, I've had an excellent run with passwords lately. Dax cracks his knuckles. Just try the same one again? Your personal reference about a show? Is the joke here that everything he ever does just works? Let's see. Alright, why don't I try this again? Tatort Pavonis 2164. Passwordcracker.exe coming. Dax is halfway through typing the password when suddenly the screen glitches. Through? Dax? No, I didn't hit enter, I swear. The laptop turns off, then reboots all by itself. System deletion in progress, 2%. Crap. 3%. We need whatever's on here. No one has crazy security like that for no reason. In a flash, Anaya flips the laptop around and rips the battery pack out of it. That's a good answer. So you can just probably just snatch its hard drive and figure this out later. What did you do? It was my turn for a Hail Mary. I figured it's got a power source. No power, no data scrubbing. Anaya clicks the battery pack back in. Booting. Booting. Oh no. It's haunted. Shush. Look, it's finished booting. Weirdly. And no password screen? I've lost more than my share of files to power outages, but this... deeply cursed. Wind your neck in, will you? Wind your neck in, will you? Okay, okay. Maybe we can get something out of this before calling an exorcist. Control-Alt-Delete. Let's bring up the good old task manager. Come on, little buddy. You've always been there for me. The laptop reacts and goes through a rapidly flashing sequence, then lands on the home screen. It heard me. Don't be afraid. Dax, it's not sentient. The screen flickers, then shows a corrupted desktop. Hooray! Look, it's trying to help us. I think that's called anthropomorphization. Yeah, you would know that, wouldn't you, developers of Mars Vice? Pat the laptop gently. Okay, so I have a theory about machines. I was hoping you'd say an engineering degree. I think some machines have souls. I definitely would have preferred the degree. And you need to treat them nicely. Remember the coffee machine? It's the same principle. It's the secret. I think the coffee machine that's been there since before everyone might just be a person. There's your transhumanism right there. If you can't be a brontosaurus, why can't you? If you can be a brontosaurus, why can't you be a coffee machine? Maybe that's their calling in life. That's why you gotta be nice to it. Dax reaches out gingerly and gently pits the laptop case. Just be nice to it. The screen stops glitching for a moment. Aha! Dax starts clicking through the directory, opening files. This is glitched to hell and back. Now, what does this say? Focus splitting first used on Earth is almost completely unused in modern day Mars. Dax and Anaya squint at the screen. That sounds like a quote from Dietrich's memo. Focus Jesus, hiccup barb. That startled and hurt me. Focus splitting. Was Rotorash looking into focus splitting? No way. I'm willing to bet my yearly bonus on this happening after she got arrested. It's a sound theory. Now, because you've said it out loud with your sounds. Anaya, come on, just a theory? I'm not disagreeing, Dax. I'm saying we have to keep looking for proof. You know, I read this stuff about focus splitting before. Yeah, we've been reading about it a lot lately. Yes, it's what we've been investigating. Don't tell me someone hijacked your mind. Haha. No, I mean, I've heard those words before, those exact words. Come on, little fella, give us more. Yeah, I know, it's from Dietrich's computer. I have a better memory than you, Dax. It's becoming a problem. Here goes nothing. Pressing random buttons, Dax is just clicking away wildly. Well, trying to give yourself carpal tunnel, are we? The screen flickers and the laptop makes an ungodly whirring sound. It seems to be at the edge of its processing power. You've gotten us this far, I know you can do it. Talking to it makes you feel better, be my guest. Come on, Anaya. You said something nice too. You said something nice too. Remember the coffee machine? Fine. You can do it. Suddenly a dozen documents pop open. The infernal whirring calms down. See? Sure, fine. If it somehow gains sentience just to become a teacher's pet. Dax and Anaya lean in to read the text on screen. Bikers are easy to manipulate. All that talk of anarchy, but suddenly they're docile as lambs in the face of authority. Roadrash was right to pick for a meat puppet. Here it is, the confession. There's more. Always on about justice and harmony without a care for reality. Real life would fall to chaos without the law. The law is justice. Dax could never comprehend it either. Uh-huh. That's alright. So, your boyfriend, bad news. What? Why is your name mentioned here? Dietrich. This is Dietrich, I know it. Whoa. I thought you said he'd been... Yeah, that's why he's got the full back thing. He goes into like a fucking like Ripper Doc ass hacker desk chair matrix booth and then hacks the world. Well, apparently he has been mind controlled. He's been doing the mind controlling. Fuck, it all makes sense, doesn't it? He's got the intel, the access, the squad to command as he chooses. This explains why he'd take over a labor incident. He knew it wasn't an accident because he orchestrated it. Hang on, if this is true, how did I see Road Rash and Dietrich at the bar at the same time? Oh no. With the focus splitter missing from Baumech, all the time we thought the bikers have it. But Dietrich is the bikers. And that's how he's walking himself and her around simultaneously. And all the other bikers, Gene and Juiced have got to be in on this. They do anything he says. Goodbye swarm control. What I don't understand is why? Why would he do this? Dietrich is obsessed with punishing criminals, so what is he doing role-playing as one? Dax. What? That obsession is exactly why he's pretending to be a criminal, don't you think? You told me yourself that the bikers used to be different. A peaceful group of activists with amateur PR aren't exactly a prize catch for the police, are they? So that makes them... worse? Worse than that. They're the new reason his job is more important than ever. Dietrich is playing 5D chess, and all he's obsessed with is getting his way. I never even met him, but he gives me the vibe. Fuck. Anaya, ouch. Too accurate. Too accurate. I really thought that deep down we both cared about what's right. That he was just a little too dogmatic about it, you know? Dog, you can't say that. I know. You want the person you love to be a stickler for doing the right thing, yeah? But then it turns out they're just a stickler. Yeah. To him, the rules can never be wrong, only the people following them. As if the world was perfect if everyone was too scared to do wrong. It's fucked up. Aye. That's why he wants more power. It was very suspicious that everything that frames the idea, it was so all the obvious conspiracy stuff that made it seem like this stuff is a push for more power for the police force was being surfaced while we were on his computer. So I was like, is it him? Is he the one who wants this? It seemed like they were trying to frame him as the guy that was trying to do good in the system, but he's trying to make the system everything. Beep, the laptop picks the right time to fizzle out. Righto, let's get a move on. Dax gently pushes the laptop shut and puts it in his pocket. Praying the hard drive stays intact until we get to the CIO. Good. Let's look for something to back up our theory. Yeah, I hope that I get to do more here, because I didn't even look around the environment yet. I don't even know what their commune looks like, so I'd be a little sad if if I got kicked out by that being like the primary thing. Employee of the month! That's funny. That is pretty funny. It's the same plaque that we have, basically, but it's for Road Rash. That's a pretty funny setup. Is that like a... grapefruit? It's a grapefruit scarf? Grapefruit's kind of neat. These don't look salvaged, these look brand new. Yeah, there's the post-it notes. So it makes that line a little funny. A funny little loot chest. Don't know if anything's referencing in here necessarily. Wonder if what she plays on this. Jovian folk? Post-prog polar rock? Death tungsten? That's not a genre. You can't just hit me with death tungsten. That's goofy. Never pictured Road Rash as a plant mom. Never judge a book by its TV adaptation. For just a second there, I thought the scale was going to be Sweet Child of Mine, but it's not. You can kind of get why I thought that for just a moment. One guitar works and the other one can only be inspected. That one's smashed. What happened there? But yeah, I'm guessing that they intentionally, they probably, yeah. So Dietrich hacked Road Rash and then sent her home with high-tech stuff so that he could do his computer work while being at home. Ah, this is the fucking clunker garbage thing. And this is the work laptop. So this is what she had when he got here, and then he tossed it aside so that he could set himself up with a laptop from the police force and stuff that would help him do his operations from here. Yep. When I saw the spike bracelets, I thought it was probably Road Rash, but I didn't know yet for sure. Got it. All right. Well, next episode we'll take a wider look around, and maybe I'll have even more rants. You can't stop me. I have too much power.